Hey community, welcome back. And if this is your first time here, I'm Dr. Blaire, a doc in clinical psychology. And on this channel, we discuss psychology, inspiration, social justice, and all topics in between. First things first, hit that subscribe and bell button. You know I want to see you back here next month. And of course, stay tuned because we are celebrating Mental Health Awareness Month. And I have special conversations in store for you. Keep watching. All right, so before we jump back into this conversation celebrating Mental Health Awareness Month, again, I have here with me for the third week in a row, one day. But anywho's, within the third week in a row, Chaney is yet still here with me.
Hey guys.
What they like to call her. But if you hadn't caught the first two episodes,
run it back. It's good.
Okay. We talked about investing in our youth. Then we head over to talking about
relationships.
And right now, looks like the cue card. We're talking about overcoming trials. And let me just say this now. If you're not holding on to your seat, let me hold on while I'm talking. If you're not holding on to your seat, go ahead and hold on because we're going to dive in deep about what it is like to overcome trials. And we cannot talk about overcoming trials without actually talking about experiencing the trial. So let's start there, Chaney.
Oh, wow. wow. I have a lot to say. I'm in the process. I'll be honest. I'm in the process of going through something. That's the key. Hold on to that. Going through. You want me to just jump to the end? No, you want me? You can't jump to the end.
She just said going through. Y'all saw how she just tried to do that? She just informed you and recommended that you go through.
You have to go through it.
She said, can I just jump to the end? Listen, let me just tell you, because that'll preach right there. There is a process, and we talked about this not too long ago, where we have recognized professionally as therapists and counselors, there's a time and a place to let somebody experience the pain, and there's a time and a place where people are then coming to comfort you. And sometimes when we run to comfort too soon, whether you're running to comfort someone else or comfort yourself, that you end up giving yourself this escape away from the thing that you have to go through, and actually it just prolongs your process because you still have to go through it. Sometimes there is no way around, there's no way above, and there's no way under. You have to go through what essentially is a storm.
Right. So I'm in a storm. I'm in a storm. I'm alive though, obviously. I'm here. So one thing about me is that whenever I'm going through things, I usually don't tell people. I usually try to go through it by myself. Now I'm going to go back to the previous episode. This is where your relationships this is where you should tap into your relationships.
I like what you did.
Hey, you like that?
That was good.
I'm not a person that will include people in my trials because I want to solve them myself. However, during this season, God has put it on my heart that, Chaney, you need relationships. In the beginning of this year, I'm like, I'm be doing all that extra stuff. I got my people now. But he's like, I need you to cultivate something new, a new group of people, and they're going to be your people for this journey, for this season you're about to go through. I'm not used to that at all, but they are my family during this season, right? And so I have been leaning on them, but I've also been sitting with however I feel instead of just passing by. I'm like, no, y'all, I'm out here hurting, and I'm okay though. It's rough. A part of you overcoming your trials is really admitting that, yes, I'm going through something and it's a struggle for me. I may need some help. I need you to check on me from time to time if I go a little silent. And these are things that I tell my circle because I know how I am. And they know how I am too. So once I start saying little snippets of what's going on, I'm not one that will just spill everything. I'm going to just give you a little excerpt and then fly on past. However.
And she tried that on me, y'all. Go ahead.
I tried on everybody. But you all know me so well. They know me so well. They be like, they'll let me fly by for a second. Literally a second, and then they'll listen and be like, okay, well, I heard what you said, but let's back it up. You on this Metro Express train, and I need you to be on the delayed train because you got to sit. It's some traffic there. The traffic is the trial, and sometimes you have to just ease on through it. Sit with your feelings. They suck sometimes, but it's not forever.
Yeah.
It's just a period of time. When you're in traffic, it don't last all day. It may last some hours, which feels like forever, but know that that's not the end.
I love that traffic analogy because if you go too fast,
you're going to hit somebody.
You're liable for a
crash.
Yeah, collision.
Hurting yourself, everybody around you.
I said before to somebody, like, we don't do collisions. And I say that in this sense of, as we're talking about overcoming trials, again, we're still in the trial phase right now. When you're experiencing a trial, I'm huge on self-reflection. Y'all know this at this point. And for those who are new here, I'm huge on self-reflection and really taking this inward look and having honest conversations, because so many of us don't have that true, raw conversation.
We're not real with ourselves.
Like, how could you then be real with other people?
Right.
And so when you have these conversations with self of like, okay, what is really going on here? I had a self-conversation this week where somebody noticed, like, hey, you acting
a little spicy.
Like, what's going on, right? And I'm like, I'm all good, right? Next time it happens, somebody's asking me, I'm like, okay. At the second point, I'm like, maybe there's some truth here. Let me do some self-reflection, and I did. And so as I sat down, I did some internal looking of, all right, I see that this is going on here, this is going on here, and this is impacting my mood over here. Here is why I've been dealing with this problem for X amount of time, and I've been trying to be positive, but I haven't acknowledged how I felt about it, my negative emotions enough. And there's a level of balance where you have to have the seesaw effect, where you're trying to find balance on this balance beam, so to speak, because without acknowledging all of the components and without acknowledging all of what's within your house, then you are actually being, you're ignoring, and some parts of you are being neglected, is what I'm trying to say. And so we can't neglect these areas within our trials because they're there for a reason.
It's part of your journey.
It's there for a reason.
Yeah.
And so as we're going through trials, whatever trial that is, or trials that you are working to overcome, with so much of that innate nature of wanting to run to safety, wanting to run to comfort, we can all agree that we've all gone through things that we've overcame, and when we were in the middle of it, we were like, "Whoa, please let this be over." But when we came out on the other side, we could say, "I learned this, this about me changed, this about me I didn't realize."
Should be able to do that. That's the self-reflection part.
Yeah.
After you get over it, after you overcome the trial, you need to be able to take a look back and say, how did I get through that? Because it's going to happen again. And you have to be able to remind yourself, last time I was going through this or any trial, I got through it.
See, and I would argue if you come back to it and you didn't have that self-reflection and you weren't able to draw out those golden nuggets, then the trial was never over.
And you do need to go back. You do need to go through that trial again. You will. Right. Now you need to. You will. You will. That's inevitable.
God has a way of not only sending out a test, but saying, you know what, you didn't learn your lesson. And this is why some of us see a lot of those same repeated cycles and patterns in our life. Like, why am I having this problem again? What is it about me that I attract this thing? And so not to say that this is always the case, but often there is a lesson embedded in that same experience that you're having over and over again for you to draw out. This is not related to trauma experiences. I'm not saying that in that moment. I want to be sensitive that anybody can watch this and they can walk away with their own perspectives. I'm not saying this as it relates to trauma, that you are having harm inflicted on you intentionally for God to teach you a lesson. No, that's not what I'm saying here. But instead, I'm saying that there is something for us to learn when we see repeated experiences happen in our life over and over again. There's something for us to draw out there. There's a shift, a change for us to make and for it to be had. So lastly, as we are, starting to shift into, we already established you experience a trial. There's something for you to learn there. And yes, it does impact your mental health. It can be negative, it can be positive. But
it's all about how you look at it and how you're going through it. And you may go through all of those.
Absolutely. You probably are going through all of those.
I am.
Right, yeah. There's so many obstacles on this obstacle course. And so then you start to approach the place where we see the light, right? We get
Look at the light, Caroline. Look at the light.
Oh my goodness, it's so much closer.
Yes.
Right? And as you're approaching this, you feel a sense of hope of like, oh my goodness, I'm almost to the end of this.
I didn't see it, but now I see it. It's almost over.
I'm almost there. Let's talk about that phase, because I think that's probably the most crucial phase in all of it.
It reminds me of, it makes me think about when I was in undergrad and grad school. At the end, when you're doing your internship, or your, for you did your dissertation, whatever it is, your tenacity, it lessens because you see the light sometimes. And you be like, well, I did it. I got this far. I got it. I got it in the bag. And so You don't see that there are other trials or little humps that you're going to go through, but you think you got it in the bag, and that's where you're going to screw up at.
Yeah, not losing that momentum.
Yeah, you have to keep that up. Keep your circle however it should be. Your eyes need to be, you got to stay focused, essentially, is what I'm saying. You can't lose focus and lax when you get close to the end. That's when you need to press forward with even more strength, because that's when the enemy is going to be like, oh, this is where I'm going to get her. Yeah, I'm going to get her right here, because bodyguards is down. You know, she done took a jacket off. She put the water bottle down. She ain't even tired no more.
He did not fully finish yet.
He going to be like, whoosh. And you were like, oh, I was almost there. I'm so dramatic.
You know, what I see there, I think the most important part is not only that you stay focused, keep your eyes on the target, but also that in that process, you evaluate why you're so excited to be to the end. Because it might be an indicator that you're still stuck in the mindset of, I got to get away from this.
Wow. That's true. That's the test right there at the end.
Yes.
Did you really learn what you were supposed to learn? These were the objectives. Let's see.
Yeah. Are you still trying to escape this? And I'm not saying any of us want to, go bathe in pain. No.
No, but we go back to our normalcy, what we're used to.
That is the true essence of change, is if you have not returned to what you let go. And so this is a moment of, am I focused on the target, focused on the light so much, because I'm like, yes, there is my next, that is where I'm headed, and I have gathered what I'm supposed to gather here, and I'm still present in the moment. Because the thing about that is, when you're on a path, you headed this direction, that's the future, you're right here, and that's the past.
Yep.
And you're trying to escape the past without living in the present, and instead focusing on the future, but you still don't learn how to live in your current moment. And so that means that what you learn during the trial, what you learn when you're almost out of the trial, and what you learn when you have overcame that trial, all have its different parts and compartments to it. And it's up to you to learn how to be present in each of those moments.
That's hard. Yeah, just drops mic, because I don't have nothing to say.
Not this mic, we still need it. So yeah.
Actually, I do have stuff to say. It's
Go
okay,
ahead,
though.
Go ahead.
I forgot. It's all right.
Okay. All right. So with that being said, let's leave our viewers with our last thoughts before we wrap up this episode of, how would you encourage those who are listening on how to bask in overcoming trials as it pertains to their mental health?
I would say consistent, positive self-talk. That is what has kept me. And then when I don't have any more, I'm reaching out. Dr. Blaire, I don't have any more affirmations for myself. Could you fill me up?
I got you.
So positive self-talk, and make sure your inner circle is able to pour into you.
That's good. That's really good. So positive self-talk and utilizing your resources. Okay.
Absolutely.
I would say that not only do I've already made this emphasis on being in the present, right? As you're being in the present, my huge thing, this is not, and when I'm saying these things, I'm also holding myself to.
Can I ask you a question? Since you said this, how do you live in the present if you're always focused on what happened or what's going to happen? How do you really focus on the present?
You don't. That's the point. That's why you can't make always the next and always before. You have to be able to focus on what's around you. Shift your focus. I can't say, hey, you know what? Look over there. Go ahead, look over there. And look over there. It's impossible.
Right. My eyes, I'm gonna be like.
You cannot do both. You have to keep your focus on in one direction at a time. And so this is when we toggle between where we need to be and shift our angles and perspectives. At the end of the day, you can't look in opposite directions at the same time.
It's kind of that seesaw, the balancing act.
Let
a
me
little
know
bit.
when you're able to figure that out, and I'm sure that would be groundbreaking science, but it's not possible. And so my tip there, for a short tip, is then you have to shift your viewpoint. You have to shift which vantage point you're looking from, because that will determine which angle you're looking at.
Perspective.
Up there, back there, or right here.
Perspective matters.
Period. So as we are closing this up, I really want you all to think about how you're going to apply this and asking yourself those hard questions. Do I escape pain? And have I learned that the pain can sometimes help me to come out of this? Sometimes I have to go through that rut in order to get to what we often like to consider to be the stronger side, but sometimes it's the softer side of you. Sometimes it's the mature side of you, and that other part of you on the overcoming this trial. We don't know what it's going to be, but you have to go through the trial to get to that evolved portion of who you are and who God is pushing and growing you to be. And being open to that process is really up to you. No one else.
Yeah.
So either you open your heart to the process and you go with him, or you close your heart up and you turn away from him. It's one or the other. There's really no in between.
I would agree.
And there you have it. So I want you all to, of course, go ahead into the comments, and I'm going to have all of her information in the description box. Of course, I didn't do this on the other episodes, but go ahead and give them your social media, your website. She offered, I mentioned at the first episode that she offers professional development. So I'm going to have her website and everything in the description. But for all purposes, go ahead and let the people know.
On Instagram, Facebook, what else? I think that's it. Relevancy, RELIVNC. It's pronounced relevancy. If you don't know how to, never mind. Relevancy. That's me.
Mm-hmm. That's your website?
Oh, relevancy.com. www.relivncv as in Victor, N as in Nancy, C as in cat.com.
Y'all go ahead and check her out. Make sure that you are not only supporting a wonderful mental health counselor, but a Black mental health professional who is also a believer and passionate about the youth, passionate about our community. She's out here doing great things, and I believe you need to know and hear more from her. With that being said, we're going to see y'all back next time.
See y'all. Peace.
Like, comment, subscribe, and share. Share with your community, and be sure to share with someone specific so they can join our community and join in on this conversation for Mental Health Awareness Month. And of course, remember, before you go, and I see you next time, if I'm great and you're great, then we're a great community.